After failing to win over 3 guys, the system informed me that I could return to my original world by dying, so I happily ordered a carb-loaded feast. In a dim basement, after I finished it, I grabbed a rope ready to hang myself. But just as I was about to put my head in the noose, I saw a stream of comments flashing before my eyes. Sis, no! Your brother is only acting this way towards you because he feels indebted to your adoptive sister. You're the one he truly loves. Yeah, your fiancé is the same. He's only doing this because your adoptive sister once saved him. The truth is, it breaks his heart every time he hurts you. Your childhood sweetheart only feels guilty towards your adoptive sister. Sis, don't give up. Don't commit suicide. They'll all go crazy if you die. I was standing on the stool when these strange comments suddenly appeared. After reading them, I just found it incredibly laughable. For over 20 years, I had tried to get the love of this world's 3 main guys, pouring all my heart and soul into it. Yet because the adoptive sister once faked a suicide attempt, they relentlessly tormented me, kicked me out to a dark, sunless apartment, and saddled me with huge debts. Now these comments were telling me that I was the one they truly loved. It was laughable. I ignored them, put my head into the noose, and kicked the stool away. The sensation of suffocation gradually spread. Before my eyes, I saw my parents' loving smiles. Wait, I was going home. Everyone, don't worry. Big bro is coming. He'll act tough, but we'll secretly save our sis. Yeah. Big bro pretends to hate sis, but he'll freak out when he sees her trying to kill herself. The adoptive sister saved the 3 guys, so they have to repay the debt. Sis, please understand them. After the fiancé and adoptive sister have their wedding, they'll have completely repaid the debt. The next second, the rickety basement door was slammed open. My brother Jason pulled me down, a flash of panic in his eyes. I crashed to the ground. Too bad I didn't get to see mom and dad. Sarah, why the hell are you faking suicide? Amber has depression because of you. She's just having a wedding with Ethan. It's not like they're really getting married. Who are you trying to get sympathy from? Do you think anyone will pity you if you kill yourself? It just disgusts me. Looking at his familiar face, which now seemed to hate me, my heart ached numbly. Jason was the family's bastard son. When he first came to my house, everyone hated him. He was often bullied at school. I was the first to hold his hand, telling him that he was good. I shared everything with him. He loved piano, and I argued with the elders, managing to get him a chance to study under a master. He wanted a rare, out-of-print sheet music, and when I found it, it was in pieces. I spent several days and nights piecing it back together for him, even ruining my eyes in the process. He used to carry me on his back, saying he'd be good to me for life. Sarah is my sister. Even if it costs me my life, I won't let Sarah get hurt. The person who once made those firm promises changed completely after the adoptive sister Amber arrived. Amber often pretended to be innocent, framing me. When I was about to marry my fiancé Ethan, she ran to the rooftop in a wedding dress, threatening to jump. To comfort her, my fiancé and brother kicked me out of the family, scheming to saddle me with huge debts and blacklisting me in the city. For the past 3 years, I've been hiding, getting beaten up by loan sharks. My legs, which used to dance ballet, were now crippled from a fracture. Actually, it's hard for Big Bro to say all these things. Look at how tightly his fists are clenched. Because he hasn't finished repaying the debt yet, he has to think about your brother. He's only favoring the adoptive sister because of gratitude. So angsty. I feel sorry for Big Bro. It was laughable. Their gratitude had nothing to do with me. For over 20 years, I had done everything for Jason. I looked at Jason, smiling, as you wish. I won't be an eyesore anymore. Before Jason could react, I picked up a fruit knife from the table and slashed my wrist. Sarah. Before closing my eyes, I only heard Jason's heart-wrenching scream. I thought I could die this time, but no. I was awakened by a cup being thrown at me. Opening my eyes, I saw Amber and Ethan standing in front of my hospital bed. Amber was crying pitifully, and Ethan looked furious. Sis, please don't hurt yourself because of me. I won't marry Ethan. Amber leaned weakly against Ethan as if she would fall any second. Ethan quickly supported Amber, looking at me coldly. What are you doing now? Do you know that Amber has stopped the wedding and hasn't been eating or sleeping well because of you? It's not like we're really getting married. Who are you trying to get sympathy from? OMG. Did anyone notice the fiancé's clenched hands? He's saying harsh words to the lead, but he feels a million times more pain inside. Because he has to repay the debt, he can't upset the adoptive sister, so he has to go along with her. He can only wrong Sis for now. Sis, don't cry. You'll be happy after the wedding. Then you'll be the sweet romance novel lead who understands the fiancé's hidden love. The more he loves, the more he restrains himself. I'm so hurt, I didn't feel happy because of the comments. I suddenly remembered my past with Ethan. I was an exchange student in a foreign country for 2 years in high school. That's where I met Ethan. He was framed by his father's illegitimate son and kicked out of the country with no money to spare, looking like a homeless man. I took Ethan in. He was an ignorant young master, but I cooked for him and took care of the house, raising him back to the way he was before. My attentive care turned his initial coldness into tenderness. He would secretly draw me while I was sleeping, writing my wife in French. After returning home, I helped him regain his family power. He said he wanted to marry me, to give me the biggest wedding in the world. But after Amber's life-saving grace, everything changed. Ethan, who was once so gentle, hated me, rejected me, and felt disgusted even hearing my name. My hand, which played the violin, was broken by him just because of a life-saving grace. A ridiculous life-saving grace that they couldn't even see the truth of. I was speechless, just lowering my head. I don't want anything. I just want to be free. I have nothing left. At least my life is still mine. Sis, why are you always saying things that make the lead sad? Ugh, I really think the lead is being a bit dramatic. The lead is so loving and restrained. What more does she want? These comments called me sis, but they were just using me as a tool for their romance. In their hearts, only the male lead's pain mattered. Ethan's eyelashes fluttered, and he subconsciously reached out to touch my head as he used to do, but he quickly withdrew his hand, sneering. Do you think we'll pity you if you use this kind of trick? If you want to die, go die somewhere else. Don't be an eyesore here. Ethan glared at me, quickly calling people in to tie me up. I struggled and panicked. What are you doing? You want to die? I won't let you have your way. I'll make you wish you were never born. They threw me into a mental hospital, which was owned by Chad. I recognized it because it was Chad's property. I was tied to the bed. Chad came in with his phone, speaking sweetly on the phone, calling the person on the other end sis. Sis, get some rest. Don't worry, I'll definitely be there for you and Ethan's wedding. But when he looked at me, his eyes were filled with disgust. Ethan told me you were trying to kill yourself again to get attention, Sarah. You're so pathetic. OMG. The bratty puppy Chad is here. He's deliberately bullying sis to get her attention because he's jealous that she's always with the fiance and big bro, Lowell. He's calling his sister in front of her to make her jealous. So cute. The boy that the comments called cute and bratty was now cursing me with the cruelest words. He was my childhood sweetheart, Chad, my little brother since I was little. When he was 15, we were skiing together when there was an avalanche. I dug him out of the snow bit by bit and carried him out of the snow mountain. I was severely frostbitten and went to the ICU. After Chad woke up, he kept guard outside the hospital room, not sleeping for several days and nights. He stayed there for as long as I was unconscious. When I finally woke up, he jumped into my arms crying, saying that I was stupid. I'd rather die myself than have anything happen to you. He was sincere, and I touched his head, comforting him with a smile. The Chad in my memory was completely different from this one. You like to threaten to die? Then enjoy it in my mental hospital. Chad waved his hand, and a group of people in white coats came forward. They came with syringes and medicine bottles, sticking needles into my arms without saying a word. I struggled desperately and couldn't help calling Chad's name. Save me, for the sake of saving him from the snow mountain. But Chad just glanced at me, quickly closing his eyes and leaving. Those people stuffed unknown drugs into my mouth, washing them down with water. I closed my eyes in despair, tears streaming down my cheeks. I spent almost all of those months in hell. When I woke up, they force-fed me medicine and injections, gave me electric shocks, and fed me expired moldy food. I was living like a ghost, without even the strength to kill myself. Does anyone else think this is a bit much? Why is the lead letting the lead be abused like this? What do you know? This is what the angsty story needs to go through. It'll be sweet after this. Yeah, what about the lead's pain? Can you feel sorry for the lead? After being tortured for a month, I was finally released. Chad walked into the room, his eyes flickering as he saw my weakened state. Do you know what you did wrong? I didn't speak, closing my eyes. Sis, apologize. In fact, Chad is heartbroken to see you like this. Sis, shed a tear and Chad will give you his life. Apologize? I found it laughable. Chad didn't say anything else, walking up to me, preparing to pick me up. I frowned, struggling noticeably. Chad's face paled and he picked me up roughly. Do you think I want to touch you? You're like a rat in the gutter. It disgusts me to even touch you. If Amber hadn't told me to pick you up, I'd be disgusted to even look at you. Chad held me tight, pressing my head against his chest. On the surface, he's disgusted, but deep down he's totally thrilled. He finally gets to be close to his sis. I bet he's going to go casually brag about this to the other two guys 800 times. Did Chad really like me like the comments said? Maybe, but his love was so cheap, it was nauseating. He took me to a bridal shop where Amber was trying on a wedding dress with a smile. When she saw my pathetic state, a flicker of mockery and triumph crossed her eyes. Sister, you're here. Quick, come help me try on dresses. My wedding won't be complete without you. Chad, you can go now. This is sister time. Chad frowned. If I leave, what if Sarah bullies you? Chad, don't talk about Sarah like that. I'm sure she never meant to hurt me in the past. Amber defended me with a weak voice, but she was really just cementing the idea that I was a bully. After Chad left, Amber looked at me and curled her lips into a malicious smile. Oh, sister, you did so much for those three, but what does it matter now? I'm the only one in their hearts. Amber's friend stood beside her, sneering. Amber, why are you wasting your breath on her? She's just a dumped piece of trash. Why don't we let her try on the wedding dress for you? Doesn't she desperately want to marry Ethan? They roared with laughter surrounding me. Then they started ripping my clothes off. Look, that scar on her body is so ugly. Ha ha ha. That scar was from when I saved Chad on the snow mountain. I once complained to him about it, and he promised he would never let anyone laugh at my scar. But now all my shame was exposed to the very person he claimed to protect, stripped of all dignity, left in nothing but my underwear. They pulled out their phones, snapping pictures, their jeers and laughter echoing around me. I tried desperately to cover myself, but they pulled my arms away. I don't know how long it lasted, but suddenly a furious roar came from the doorway. Stop it.
Stop it. The roar was so furious that everyone in the bridal shop froze. Amber's friends quickly lowered their phones. I looked toward the door through my blurry vision. Jason stood there. His chest heaved violently. His eyes landed on me, on my bruised arms, on the scars covering my body, on the wedding dress that had been thrown at my feet, and on the group of women surrounding me. For a moment, the entire room fell silent. Amber was the first to react. Brother. Before she could finish speaking, Jason strode forward. Smack. A phone flew from one of the women's hands and shattered against the wall. His voice was frighteningly cold. Delete every photo. Everyone trembled. Amber's friend forced a smile. Mr. Lowell, we were just joking. Delete them. His voice was so low that nobody dared argue. The women hurriedly erased everything. Only then did Jason take off his suit jacket and drape it over my shoulders. His hands shook slightly. The comments exploded. OMG. Big bro finally snapped. Look at his eyes. He's about to kill someone. See? We told you he loves this. I felt nothing. Not gratitude. Not warmth. Nothing. The man who had thrown me out of the family. The man who had ignored my cries. The man who had watched me suffer for 3 years. Could not earn forgiveness simply because he finally decided to grow a conscience. Jason's hand paused when he noticed my empty expression. For some reason, panic flashed across his face. Sarah. I lowered my eyes. Move. His body stiffened. I repeated calmly. I said move. The room became deathly quiet. Jason looked as though someone had stabbed him. Amber immediately stepped forward. Sister, don't be angry. Brother was only trying to help. Help. I laughed softly. The sound was hoarse and unpleasant after months of screaming. Who needs his help? Amber's face froze. I slowly looked around the room. At the people who had humiliated me. At Amber. At Jason. Then I smiled. Didn't all of you enjoy watching? Continue. Everyone stared at me. What? Amber whispered. I pointed at the floor. Continue. Take more pictures. Humiliate me some more. After all, isn't that what you've been doing for the last 3 years? Jason's face instantly turned pale. Sarah, I lost my family, my career, my dreams, my legs, my hands, my future. I looked directly at him. And now you're upset because they took a few pictures? Each word hit him like a hammer. His face grew whiter and whiter. The comments suddenly became much quieter. Why am I crying? This doesn't feel romantic anymore. For the first time, Jason couldn't say a single word. Because everything I said was true. The bridal shop manager hurried over. Miss Sarah, let's get you changed. No need. I pulled the jacket tighter around myself and walked toward the exit. No one dared stop me. Not Amber. Not her friends. Not Jason. Just as I reached the door, Amber suddenly cried out. Sister. I stopped. She bit her lip. For the first time, there was anxiety in her eyes. Because things were slipping beyond her control. Don't you want to know why they chose me? I turned around. Amber smiled slowly. You know, the funniest part is that I never even saved them. The entire room froze. Jason's pupils contracted. What did you say? Amber covered her mouth dramatically. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. The smile on her face grew wider. But since Sarah's leaving anyway, she looked at me triumphantly. Let me tell you a secret. The person who saved Ethan wasn't me. The person who saved Chad wasn't me either. And as for Jason, she laughed. His precious piano score? I tore it apart myself. Silence. Absolute silence. Jason looked like he had been struck by lightning. Ethan, who had just entered the bridal shop after receiving the news, froze at the entrance. Even Chad, who had arrived moments later, stopped in his tracks. Amber slowly looked at all 3 men. Then she smiled. You idiots. I lied. And all of you believed me. For a second, nobody moved. Then, crash. Jason punched through a nearby mirror. Blood instantly poured from his fist. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Amber. What did you just say? Amber finally realized something was wrong. The confidence on her face began to crumble. But it was already too late. Because for the first time in 3 years, the illusion she had carefully maintained was breaking apart. And the 3 men who had ruined my life were finally beginning to see the truth. Unfortunately for them, I no longer cared. Blood dripped steadily from Jason's shattered fist. No one moved. No one even breathed. Amber's confident smile finally cracked. Everyone, why are you looking at me like that? Jason stepped forward. His voice was terrifyingly calm. Repeat what you just said. Amber instinctively retreated. I was joking. Repeat it. The bridal shop seemed to grow colder. Amber's face turned pale. Ethan suddenly grabbed her wrist. His grip was so tight she cried out. The person who saved me overseas. His voice was trembling. Was it Sarah? Amber's eyes darted around. For the first time, she couldn't answer immediately. That hesitation was enough. Enough to destroy everything. Ethan's face went completely white. Images flashed through his mind. A tiny apartment. Warm meals. A girl staying up all night taking care of him when he had a fever. A girl working 3 part-time jobs to support him. A girl smiling while saying, "Don't worry, Ethan. You'll get through this." Every memory belonged to Sarah. Not Amber. Never Amber. His knees almost gave out. Meanwhile, Chad stood frozen. His heart pounded violently. What about the avalanche? Amber looked away. What about the avalanche? Chad roared. The entire bridal shop shook. He looked insane. Amber had never seen him like this before. I only found you afterward. Chad staggered backward. His face drained of all color. Only found him afterward. Then who had dug him out? Who had carried him through the blizzard? Who had nearly died from frostbite? A memory surfaced. A hospital room. Sarah smiling weakly. Her hands wrapped in bandages. Her body covered in frostbite injuries. Back then Amber had said those injuries happened because Sarah had deliberately gone skiing recklessly. He had believed it. God. He had actually believed it. Chad felt like throwing up. Then Jason laughed. A low, broken laugh. Everyone looked toward him. His shoulders were shaking. His eyes were red. Do you know? He laughed again. Do you know what I did for you? Amber's expression changed. Jason slowly looked at me. No, not looked. Stared. Like a dying man seeing the sun for the first time. For 3 years he had convinced himself he was repaying a debt. That hurting Sarah was necessary. That Amber deserved compensation. But now, everything collapsed. Every excuse. Every justification. Every cruel word. Gone. All that remained was the truth. He had destroyed the person who loved him most. The comments exploded. Oh my god. This is bad. This is way worse than I expected. They really got everything wrong. Why do I suddenly feel sick? For the first time, even the comments weren't defending the 3 men. Because there was nothing left to defend. Ethan suddenly turned toward me. Sarah. His voice cracked. I didn't respond. Sarah. He took a step forward. Then another. His eyes were full of desperation. The same eyes that had once looked at me with love. The same eyes that had looked at me with hatred. I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. No love. Nothing. That frightened him more than hatred ever could. Sarah, I didn't know. I smiled faintly. Does it matter? His body froze. The question was simple. But he couldn't answer. Because it didn't matter. Knowing or not knowing changed nothing. My broken hand was still broken. My ruined future was still ruined. The 3 years of torture still existed. The month in the mental hospital still happened. Chad suddenly dropped to his knees. The sound echoed through the room. Everyone stared. His eyes were red from crying. Sarah. His voice was barely audible. I'm sorry. That proud boy who had never bowed his head to anyone was kneeling before me. But I only looked at him quietly. Sorry? Sorry for the electric shocks? Sorry for the drugs? Sorry for locking me in hell? What exactly was he apologizing for? Because there wasn't enough time in one lifetime to apologize for everything. I turned and walked away. This time no one stopped me. Not Jason. Not Ethan. Not Chad. The three men simply stood there watching the woman they loved leave them behind forever. And for the first time, they finally understood what true despair felt like. Because unlike before, when Sarah had chased after them endlessly, this time she wasn't pretending. She genuinely didn't care anymore. And that terrified them far more than her death ever could. Outside the bridal shop, rain had begun to fall. I walked slowly into the storm. Behind me, I heard Ethan's broken voice. Find her. Then Jason's. No matter what it takes. Then Chad's trembling whisper. Bring Sarah home. But none of them realized one thing. I had already made my decision. If death was the only way back to my original world, then I would try again. And next time, no one would stop me. Rain soaked through my clothes within minutes. My body was weak from the month in the mental hospital. Every step hurt. But for the first time in years, I felt strangely calm. Behind me, the city was in chaos. The three men had finally learned the truth. The comments were still flashing frantically before my eyes. Sis, don't do anything stupid. They're all looking for you. Jason is losing his mind. Ethan canceled the wedding. Chad smashed half the mental hospital. Please don't die. I ignored every word. They still didn't understand. The problem was never whether the three men loved me. The problem was that their love came after they had already destroyed me. What use was that? A knife that stabs you and then cries afterward still leaves a wound. A murderer who regrets killing someone doesn't bring the victim back. Love wasn't an excuse. And it certainly wasn't a reward. By the time night fell, I had reached the old apartment building where I had hidden for 3 years. The hallway was dark. The walls were peeling. It smelled of mold and dampness. I climbed the stairs slowly, then stopped. Someone was sitting outside my door. Jason. His clothes were soaked. His injured hand was still bleeding through the bandages. When he saw me, he immediately stood up. His eyes brightened, then dimmed when he saw my expression. Sarah. I walked past him. He grabbed my wrist instinctively. I froze. Not because I was afraid, but because his touch reminded me of another time. A little girl holding a lonely boy's hand. A girl telling him he belonged. A girl calling him brother. The memory vanished as quickly as it came. I pulled away. Jason's face crumpled. Please. The word sounded foreign coming from him. Please listen to me. I unlocked the door. He followed me inside. The tiny apartment suddenly felt even smaller. Jason looked around. And froze. There was almost nothing in the room. A broken sofa. A small table. A single blanket. No decorations. No personal belongings. No warmth. No signs that anyone had actually lived there. His throat tightened. For 3 years. This was where I had survived. While he was living in a mansion. While he was celebrating holidays. While he was accompanying Amber everywhere. A sharp pain stabbed through his chest. I sat down. Jason remained standing. After a long silence, he finally spoke. I didn't know. I laughed. The sound made him flinch. Every one of them said the same thing. I looked at him. Then whose fault is that? Jason opened his mouth. Then closed it. Because he had no answer. He could have investigated. He could have listened. He could have trusted me. But he hadn't. Instead, he chose Amber every single time. A tear slid down his face. The proud eldest son of the Lowell family. Crying. I was wrong. I nodded. You were. Another tear fell. I'll fix everything. I stared at him quietly. Then asked. Can you fix my legs? His face went white. Can you fix my hand? Silence. Can you give me back the years I lost? Jason couldn't breathe. Each question was a knife. Because the answer was no. No matter how powerful he was. No matter how rich he was. No matter how much he regretted it. The damage was done. I stood up. You should leave. Jason's eyes widened. Sarah. Leave. His body trembled. For a moment, it looked as if he might refuse. Then he noticed something. A notebook on the table. Its pages were filled with calculations. Dates. Methods. Failed attempts. His pupils shrank. He flipped it open. His hands began shaking. Page after page contained only one thing. Ways to die. Hanging. Overdose. Jumping. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Each method carefully researched. Each one crossed out with notes. Failed. Interrupted. Not reliable. Jason felt his blood turn cold. His vision blurred. This wasn't an impulsive decision. This wasn't attention-seeking. For years, I had been desperately trying to leave. To leave this world. To leave them. His knees gave out. He collapsed onto the floor. Sarah. His voice broke completely. What happened to you? I looked at him calmly. The answer was simple. You happened to me. But I was too tired to say it aloud. And for the first time, Jason finally understood something horrifying. The greatest punishment wasn't that Sarah hated him. It was that she had already given up on him completely. And there was a difference. Hatred still meant caring. Hatred still meant feeling. But Sarah looked at him the same way she looked at a stranger. No, worse than a stranger. Like someone who no longer existed in her life at all. And that realization shattered what remained of his heart. As he sat on the floor clutching the notebook, sobbing uncontrollably, a new comment appeared before my eyes. Wait, did anyone else notice something? The system hasn't spoken once since Sarah tried to die. Oh, my God, don't tell me. Has the return condition already started? The comment flashed across my vision. Has the return condition already started? For the first time, the endless stream of comments fell silent. Even I froze. Return condition? A familiar mechanical voice suddenly echoed in my mind. Warning. World mission failed. Affection targets irreversibly detached. Return protocol restarting. I stiffened. Jason looked up immediately. Sarah? I ignored him. The voice continued. Host's emotional attachment to mission world, 0.3%. Host's desire to return to original world, 100%. Return sequence unlocked. My fingers trembled. After all these years. After all this suffering. The system was finally responding. The comments exploded. What? The system came back. Wait, if the return sequence starts, doesn't that mean she's really leaving? No way. The male leads haven't even begun their redemption arc. I almost laughed. Even now they cared more about their precious redemption story than about me. The system spoke again. Return requirements. Requirement 1. Recover all stolen truths. Progress, 92%. Requirement 2. Sever all emotional bonds. Progress, 99%. Requirement 3. Witness the collapse of the false protagonist. Progress, 81%. I blinked. False protagonist? Amber. The realization came instantly. The system had chosen the wrong heroine from the beginning. Or perhaps someone had stolen the role. Before I could think further, Jason suddenly grabbed my shoulders. Sarah. I frowned. What? His eyes were bloodshot. Who are you talking to? I stared at him, then slowly smiled. Nobody. Jason looked terrified. Far more terrified than when he discovered Amber's lies. Because my smile felt like a farewell. The kind people gave before disappearing forever. His grip tightened. No. His voice shook. No, you're not leaving. Leaving? If only he knew. The system notification flashed again. False protagonist exposure event beginning. At that exact moment, Jason's phone rang. He answered absent-mindedly. A terrified voice screamed through the speaker. Mr. Lowell. What? Something happened. What happened? The person sounded panicked. It's Miss Amber. Jason froze. Across town. Inside the Lowell mansion. Everything was falling apart. The servants who had once feared Amber were talking. The security staff were talking. Old friends were talking. And most importantly, evidence was surfacing. One piece after another. Photos. Messages. Recordings. Witness statements. 3 years ago, when Amber supposedly attempted suicide because I bullied her, she had paid someone to fake the evidence. The rooftop incident was staged. The threatening messages were fabricated. The witnesses were bribed. One lie after another. The entire truth was erupting like a volcano. The comments exploded again. What? No way. It was all fake. We've been reading the wrong story this whole time. Back in my apartment, Jason listened to report after report. His face gradually lost all color. Then another call came. This one was from Ethan. Jason answered. Immediately, Ethan's furious roar erupted from the phone. Where is she? Jason glanced at me. Sarah's here. For a moment there was silence. Then Ethan said hoarsely. I found the hospital records. Jason froze. What? The next sentence nearly stopped his heart. Sarah was never mentally ill. Silence. The doctors were bribed. The diagnoses were fabricated. The treatments were unauthorized. Every word was a death sentence. Ethan sounded like he was choking. I checked everything. Every single thing. They tortured her. Jason dropped the phone. The room spun. His stomach churned. He remembered my screaming. My pleading. My desperate eyes. And how he had ignored all of it. A sound escaped his throat. Half laugh. Half sob. Meanwhile, across the city, Chad stood inside the now abandoned mental hospital. His hands were covered in blood. Not from anyone else. From himself. He had punched every wall he could find. Every room. Every treatment chair. Every restraint bed. Every instrument used on me. Destroyed. All destroyed. The director knelt before him crying. Young master, we only followed orders. Chad kicked him across the room. His voice was terrifying. Did she cry? The director froze. What? When she begged you to stop. Chad's eyes were red. Did she cry? The man couldn't answer. Because he remembered. Everyone remembered. I had cried. Begged. Screamed. Until eventually I stopped making sounds altogether. Chad collapsed onto the floor. For the first time in his life, he wished he had died in that avalanche. Back in my apartment, another system notification appeared. Requirement 1 completed. Requirement 2 completed. Current progress, 97%. Only one requirement remained. The collapse of the false protagonist. And somehow, I had a feeling. Amber was already destroying herself. Far away, in the Lowell mansion, Amber stared at the growing pile of evidence. Her face was deathly pale. For the first time in years, nobody was looking at her with affection. Nobody was protecting her. Nobody was believing her tears. And she finally realized something. The 3 men she manipulated had never truly belonged to her. They had simply been stolen from someone else. Now that the truth was out, everything she stole was about to be taken back. And her world was beginning to crumble. Amber's world collapsed in less than 48 hours. The speed was almost laughable. For years, she had built her kingdom on lies. But lies only needed one crack before the entire structure came crashing down. The recordings surfaced first. Then the messages. Then former friends came forward. Then servants. Then hired actors. One after another. Every accusation she'd ever made against me unraveled. Every fabricated suicide attempt. Every staged injury. Every tearful performance. Every lie. The internet exploded. The public that had once praised her turned on her overnight. Companies cut ties. Friends disappeared. Even her own supporters abandoned her. The comments that had once defended her now looked horrified. I can't believe this. She ruined Sarah's entire life. 3 years. 3 whole years. We were wrong. For the first time, nobody argued. Nobody defended the male leads either. Because everyone finally understood. Whether they had been deceived or not didn't matter. They were still the ones who had chosen to hurt me. Meanwhile, Ethan, Jason, and Chad were destroying themselves. Ethan canceled every project and spent his days investigating every detail of the past 3 years. The more he learned, the more broken he became. Every meal I had skipped. Every beating from loan sharks. Every hospital visit. Every injury. He learned all of it. And every truth felt like another knife through his heart. Jason resigned from several company positions. He couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Couldn't look in a mirror. Everywhere he looked, he saw the little girl who had held his hand and called him brother. The sister he had failed. The sister he had betrayed. The sister he had destroyed. And Chad? Chad was the worst. He shut down the mental hospital permanently. Every doctor involved was prosecuted. Every staff member investigated. Every record exposed. Then he disappeared from public view entirely. People said he spent most nights sitting outside my apartment building until dawn. But I never opened the door. Never spoke to him. Never looked at him. Because it no longer mattered. None of them mattered. 1 week later, the system spoke again. Requirement 3 completed. False protagonist collapse confirmed. Return sequence ready. I sat quietly by the window. Outside, dawn was breaking. For the first time in years, I smiled. A real smile. The comments were frantic. Sis, don't leave. Please. They finally know the truth. They regret everything. Give them another chance. I looked at the messages. Then shook my head. No. The room fell silent. My voice was soft. They had thousands of chances. The comments stopped moving. When I begged for help. When I explained. When I cried. When I trusted them. They chose her every single time. So why should I choose them now? No one had an answer. The system appeared before me. A glowing door slowly materialized. Beyond it, I saw familiar figures. A woman crying. A man standing beside her. Both staring toward me. Mom. Dad. My breath caught. After so many years. After so much pain. I was finally going home. A knock suddenly sounded at the door. Then another. Then another. 3 voices. Desperate. Broken. Terrified. Sarah, please open the door. Just let us see you once. Jason. Ethan. Chad. The system calmly asked. Return to original world. I stood up. Without hesitation. Yes. Outside the door, the knocking became frantic. Sarah, please. We love you. For the first time, those words reached me. And for the first time, they meant absolutely nothing. I walked toward the light. Step by step. Leaving behind the pain. The betrayal. The loneliness. The false love. Everything. The last thing I heard before crossing the doorway was a scream. A scream so full of despair it barely sounded human. Then, darkness. Warmth. Soft sunlight. The smell of breakfast. Birds singing outside a window. I slowly opened my eyes. A familiar ceiling greeted me. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then the bedroom door burst open. Sarah. My mother rushed inside. Tears streamed down her face. My father followed right behind her. Both looked exactly as I remembered. Exactly. I broke down crying. For the first time in years. Not from pain. Not from grief. Not from despair. But because I was finally home. My mother hugged me tightly. My father stroked my hair. Neither let go. And in that moment, I realized something. The thing I had spent 20 years desperately chasing in another world. Love. Had been waiting for me here all along. Far away, in the world I left behind, 3 men stood inside an empty apartment. The room was silent. The bed was empty. Sarah was gone. Not hidden. Not running away. Gone. Completely. The notebook remained on the table. Beside it was a single piece of paper. Only 6 words were written on it. I forgive you. Goodbye forever. Jason collapsed first. Then Ethan. Then Chad. 3 men who had finally realized who they loved. 3 men who had finally learned the truth. 3 men who had gotten everything they wanted. 1 moment too late. And this time, there would never be another chance. Epilogue. 3 years later. The Lowell family mansion was quieter than a graveyard. The staff rarely spoke above a whisper. No one mentioned Sarah's name anymore. Not because they forgot, but because the people who loved her most could not bear to hear it. Jason sat alone in the music room. The room he had built specifically for her. The room she had never used. A dusty ballet photo sat on the piano. Sarah was 16 in the picture. Smiling. Bright. Alive. The kind of smile he had spent years trying to find again. And failed. Every morning he still walked into the room. Every morning he stared at the photo. And every morning he remembered. Remembered the little girl who had defended him when nobody else would. Remembered the sister who pieced together his torn sheet music. Remembered the sister who had once been his entire world. Then he remembered the woman he left to suffer. The woman who died with disappointment in her eyes. The woman he would never see again. Some wounds never healed. This was one of them. Ethan never married. Not Amber. Not anyone. The wedding ring he had originally prepared for Sarah remained locked inside a safe. Untouched. He expanded his business empire until he became one of the most powerful men in the country. People envied him. Admired him. Feared him. But none of them knew the truth. Every night, he returned to an empty house. Every night, he opened the drawer containing Sarah's old letters. Every night, he reread them. There was one letter he read most often. It was from years ago. A simple note. Ethan, don't work too hard. Remember to eat on time. I'm cheering for you. Nothing special. Nothing dramatic. Yet he cried every single time he read it. Because no one had ever loved him as purely as Sarah had. And he had thrown that love away. Chad changed the most. The once arrogant young master became almost unrecognizable. He established foundations for abuse victims. Funded mental health reform. Shut down dozens of corrupt facilities. People praised him endlessly. Called him kind. Called him noble. Called him selfless. Every time he heard those compliments, he wanted to laugh. Because he knew the truth. He wasn't doing it for kindness. He was doing it because every night he still heard Sarah screaming in his dreams. Every night he saw her tied to that bed. Every night he remembered walking away when she begged him to save her. There was no amount of charity that could erase that memory. No amount of good deeds that could undo what he had done. So he kept working. Kept trying. Kept punishing himself. Because stopping would mean facing the silence. And the silence hurt more. As for Amber, nobody heard from her anymore. She lost everything she had stolen. Her reputation. Her status. Her friends. Her future. Eventually she became little more than a cautionary tale. a footnote in other people's lives, exactly as insignificant as she had always feared becoming. And Sarah? Sarah was happy, truly happy, the kind of happiness that didn't require sacrifice, or suffering, or proving her worth. Back in her original world, she returned to university, made new friends, laughed more than she cried, celebrated birthdays, spent holidays with her parents, argued over silly things, watched movies together, lived. One sunny afternoon, she sat in a cafe with her mother. Her phone buzzed with messages from friends, plans for the weekend, dinner invitations, life, ordinary life, the kind she had once thought was boring. Now it felt precious. Her mother suddenly smiled. What are you thinking about? Sarah looked out the window, at the blue sky, at people walking past, at the future waiting ahead. Then she smiled. Nothing. And for once, it was true. Because the pain belonged to another world. The regrets belonged to another world. The people who lost her belonged to another world. Sarah no longer carried them. She had finally put them down. And somewhere far away, 3 men spent the rest of their lives missing the person they could never get back. While Sarah spent the rest of hers moving forward. And that was the difference between them. They lived in the past. She lived in the future.